So a couple months ago I got 2 tweets on my feed basically listing every single thing Tatsuki Fujimoto, the author of Fire Punch and Chainsaw Man, has ever recommended. And yes, I mean everything, from movies to anime to shows, but what caught my eye the most was the manga. So I decided to read every single manga he ever recommended. Problem is, he just didn't stop. He kept going and going and going, so over 1,000 chapters later I finally caught up. And I really wish I was joking when I say this, but I swear to you, at this point I have no life. So these are all the manga I read, so if any catch your attention based on the title alone, you can use the timestamps below to just check it out. The plot of Let's Go Karaoke is basically a Yakuza member wanting to be better at singing because his boss has these karaoke competitions where the loser is forced to get a tattoo by the boss. So he goes to a middle school choir competition to find someone to train him. And there comes in Satomi, the leader of his choir, to train him. Now, I'll be honest, this plot is kinda creepy. Why did he go to a middle school choir competition and not YouTube or a singing class or I don't know, literally any other place? Plus, the addition of pages like this and this makes it seem like he's just getting groomed. Catholic priest out of 10. This story has by far the best visual storytelling I've ever seen. There's so much that each panel says without saying a single word that it truly shocks me how much it conveys throughout the story. The encounter, acceptance, love, loss. Something so complex is still able to be shown in 4 simple panels. People say that a picture is worth 1,000 words, and this is one of the reasons why. 10 out of 10. High School Family is a comedy series about a family that goes into high school, but not only the same school, but the same class. Even the ugly cat got in, and I'll be honest, I failed high school once. How the f did the cat get in? Now I don't find it funny, and if you do, I'm genuinely concerned for you. Because the comedy in this series is more comical than anything, and it's pretty niche to the point that I haven't seen a single person apart from Fujimoto highly rated. It's like a worse Rent a Girlfriend chapter, or like watching Victorious without the laugh tracks.
Was amazing. You learned that from your daddy?
Now, to cap this recommendation off, there's 3 major mysteries in this world. What happens after death? Who killed JFK? And how did High School Family get 112 chapters? My Broken Mariko starts with a news report stating that Ikagawa Mariko, a friend of our protagonist Shino, had committed suicide. This story isn't about suicide, however, but rather it's about abuse and grief. It handles these really difficult subjects in such a way that nothing feels forced in order to push a narrative. Throughout the story, we slowly see memories of Mariko and Shino's relationship being shown, while also going through each step of the grieving process that really just hones in on the grief that comes with losing someone you love. Denial, anger, bargaining, depression, acceptance. All these are shown very spectacularly, and when you have such beautiful art to complement the story, you can't help but feel bad for Shino. Wave Listen to Me is a story about radio and romance where only 1% is really focused on the romance. And yes, I just read volume 1 afterward for that basic ass description. This story is centered around a main character, Minare, that gets introduced into radio after being caught in a drunk rant, rambling about her ex to a radio host that was secretly recording and ended up broadcasting that conversation. Now, if I'm being honest, this series is extremely inconsistent. At the beginning, there's no romance and most focus is on radio. But then there's romance, but not much on radio. This series struggles to find its balance between romance and content outside of that romance. But it also has film level cinematography with amazing environmental storytelling. So it isn't bad, it's just alright. Now, if you're a new manga reader, take this lesson and take it well. When you hear the name Oshimi Shuzo, just know you're in for some messed up shit. Blood on the Tracks is an amazing horror manga that doesn't use predictable jump scares or intense gore to cause the fear throughout this manga. It uses pure dread with a hint of anticipation within a relationship of a 13-year-old boy and his overbearing mother. I think this is an author that has proven themselves time and time again to be able to write incredible narratives that keep you hooked to the point that all I have to say is 10 out of 10. Yuria's Red String is about Yuria, a 50-year-old woman married to Goro. After Goro gets put in a coma because of a brain hemorrhage, Yuria gets revealed that her husband had a secret gay lover while he's still in said coma. Now, all this sounds like extremely serious situations, right? But this story manages to take every pretty serious situation and turn it into an unserious ass story. Like, instead of being mad or depressed or anything with her husband, Yuria just goes back to caring for her husband as if, you know, some extremely young dude didn't just tell you he's dicking down your husband. I don't know, it's just odd. I understand the whole point of this story is to have a stoic protagonist that can get through anything because of what her father said, but having someone not even blink at the idea of being cheated on with a member of the opposite sex is borderline insane. But when it was revealed that Goro had a secret family with 2 daughters and she didn't even react, that's when I really gave up on this story. 3 out of 10. This story is about Yuri. She's a shy girl that goes unnoticed by most people in her class. One day she asks out Aono and he's like, I mean, I guess why not? 2 weeks after they started dating, the teacher announces that Aono died in a traffic accident. After getting home, she picks up a razor blade and then he somehow shows up as a ghost. Most of this story is basically discovering new things about Aono, since he is a bit of a mysterious figure, and prior to the relationship, Yuri barely even knew him. But the mystery behind him being a ghost also gets unraveled. Questions such as how did he go from this to this, why does his personality all of a sudden change when asking to possess Yuri, and what is happening to Yuri? This series initially passes itself off as a classic, simple, wholesome romance story, even by making the art very similar to those type of series. And it's honestly pretty impressive how good it actually is when the cover just kinda screams basic. 8 out of 10. This corner of the world starts with 3 prologue chapters set in 1934. Suzu and her family simply just living their day-to-day life. School, family, all these events being drawn in an art style that somehow encapsulates the endearing aspects of the story. Then chapter 4 hits. There's talk about potential futures, marriage, death. This whole manga just feels extremely tense to me. As the day constantly keeps getting updated, we know what is eventually going to happen. This story about happiness, family, and love at some point is going to be shattered. Then we get to March 1945. The thin veneer of a facade is revealed with an incoming air raid and their dad passed out from exhaustion. June 1945, Suzu gets some water for fire protection, and on their way back, we see Suzu looking back on times after losing her right hand. Loss is the main thing that is shown in this one panel. This manga overall is just beautiful. I don't think there's anything that I could say that could truly capture what this manga tries to depict and succeeds at it. Sleeping Dead is about Sada, a high school teacher that is popular with all students and colleagues. One day while patrolling after school due to a female being chased by a man, he sees a student being attacked by someone with a knife. He tries to run away, but it's a little too late. Sada wakes up to being surrounded by animals and strapped down to a table. A scientist comes in and introduces himself as Mamiya, and the reasoning for Sada being alive is that he's now a zombie being kept alive by a new type of cell that Mamiya came up with. Now this series is labeled as a BL, but it honestly just doesn't feel like it. The relationship between the two becomes closer as they talk about the morality behind murder, as Sada has to eat human flesh to stay alive now, and after running out of food from the girl Sada tried to save, they had to find another victim. I think the concept and art are both appealing and will keep you hooked, but this series didn't particularly wow me at any point. 7 out of 10. Now this series literally just came out, so I'm not going to give it a full-on review, but I will say the concept is fantastic. It's basically about a family that lost all their memories because of a car crash, and that isn't the main aspect that pulls you into the story. The main aspect that pulls you into the story is the mystery behind it. And yes, the rediscovery of memories does add mystery to our characters in a way, but the main aspect of the mystery that I've enjoyed is uncovering our protagonist's secrets, and hopefully in the future uncovering the secrets of the other family members, leading to how the car crash was caused in the first place. Now as far as the series, I'm not going to give a rating because I think that'd be a little bit unfair since it's just 2 chapters in, but as far as an opening, it was definitely fantastic. To put it simply, Delicious in Dungeon is an original take on a cooking show. It's an adventure story about a group of adventurers diving deeper down a living dungeon to retrieve one of their friends that got eaten by a dragon. But on the way, you see them cooking the creatures within the dungeon, such as slimes or scorpions. So just replace the orgasm of food wars or the yelling from Ramsey and simply put it in an original setting. The story was a nice mix of world building, comedy, and storytelling, and I can definitely see the appeal for the series, but it just wasn't for me. Abara is made by the same mangaka that made Blame, and if you know anything about Blame, you know the story takes a bit of a backseat for the beautiful visuals, and this series isn't an exception. The story and characters are honestly pretty lacking, but the visuals... But nevertheless, Abara just feels like the author wanted to draw something and just tried to slap a story on it, which in my opinion just doesn't work out. Welcome Back Alice is a bit of a controversial one. Without giving a synopsis, the people reading this manga are pretty split from Okaidi Alice is a mess of obnoxious pretension that doesn't have a single idea what it's trying to tell, and the topic the author conveys in the manga is something which really opens your mind about gender norms. Now me personally, after reading all the chapters that are out, including the afterword in volume 5, which I heavily recommend, and also might find this story disturbing, disgusting, mean-spirited, and transphobic at points throughout the story, but the author's expression and how he shows parts of himself throughout this manga is just grotesquely beautiful. Then no matter what this manga tries to say within this messaging, I'll still be hooked to this series for the simple fact that it's able to give me a closer look into the author's mentality while also breaking my mind by changing my core beliefs little by little when it comes to gender norms. Witches is a masterpiece. This series has 4 main stories that is happening in the same world that focuses on particular witches. The art is beautiful in this series, especially when paying close attention to the backgrounds or the grotesque creatures. You can really see the tiny details and the immense amount of effort that went into this manga's art. The storytelling was quite fascinating also, as each story runs you through these convoluted messages about humans and the human body, but still manages to leave you with symbolism that just leaves you in awe. 9 out of 10. This series is a laid-back slice-of-life rom-com that takes place in a school setting. But The Dangers in My Heart is very episodic, but it's also able to smoothly implement character relationship progression. So if you like series like Komi-san Can Communicate or Horimiya, then definitely read this. Now for this one, I'm just not gonna give you a synopsis. Planet Test is just beautiful. In its story, given the splendor behind space travel, in its visuals being able to capture the beauty behind space, in its characters not only given each individuality, but also being able to expand past surface level differences. This is one of the few manga that truly captured my heart in only one chapter. Not only did this one chapter have so much going on, but every single chapter after that gives the same level of attention to detail within its storytelling. 10 out of 10. This series is just beautiful. It's really hard to put into words how this series made me feel throughout, but the closest word that comes to mind is nostalgia. Yokohama Shopping Log is a celebration of life, of people, relationships, also a sorrowful message of how all good things must come to an end. This manga is just beautiful in the way it invokes emotion through its art. 10 out of 10. And to cap this video off, let's go through the ones that are way too popular, or I already made a video on, to recommend. Jujutsu Kaisen is great. Spy X Family is great. Dandadan is like you gave the author acid and told him to write, and he somehow got it right. Hell's Paradise is good. Berserk is Berserk. Claymore is fantastic. Flowers of Evil is a f***ed up read, but is a must read as well. To Your Eternity is a must read. Blue Period is a must read. Later the Immortal is a must read. Baki the Grappler is great. Parasyte is great. Yu-Gi-Oh is great. Angyo is great. Now there are a lot I missed and didn't talk about, but the main reason because of that is because he just was talking about them casually rather than actually recommending them. And one example of that is Ganibari. But there's also some I couldn't find English or Spanish translations for, such as Gekigo Kamen, Oshino Haraga Areta, Ichiken the Society for the Study of Modern Visual Culture, and Chaos Game. But regardless, I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and if you guys want me to go through the anime next time, hit 1,000 likes on this video, and also give me 6 months to recover from this because this took way too fucking long.